Welcome traders. In this video I want to go over some of the live trades I took today using the micro ES contract, and I want to reiterate again that what we're going to go over today isn't trading advice. It was actually following a plan that I had created, and what I'm using on my charts is what I described in my prior video of a 5-point zigzag. So what we're looking for every time we have a trade, we're generally looking for about 5 points, but that 5 points is not necessarily from where you entered the trade at or where I may have entered the trade at. It's from a high to a low. So that is what forms a new zigzag. So initially I took a trade in the pre-market. I entered here with 2 contracts, and I should have added here, but I was temporarily distracted with a phone call, so I didn't get the chance to add any to that, and the market traded back and I exited that for 3 points. And I exited because what we are entering here is a typical trend trade. Now the second trade I made was just after the open, and the reason I made this trade is because I had a distribution divergence signal up here that became non-divergent when price exceeded. So that was the original reason for the trade. I stayed with it as it traded back to intermediate support and exited that for 5 points on 2 contracts. Next, I went ahead and started to get long. I got long here, and then as price traded down a little, we can see how the ratio on the chart on the right is dipping and going below 75, and I added 2 more contracts to that. And that trade was good for 4 contracts for a total of about 5 3/4 points. This next trade here I took, but I only had put a 1 in for the number of contracts instead of a 2, so I made a bit of an error here. And as price traded down, feel comfortable in being short, so I took that off with a 1 3/4 point profit, and I re-entered it long with 2 contracts and took 5 1/4 points out of that. So in a period of about an hour and a half, that was approximately about a $300 profit, and didn't really have to sweat very much any of these trades. So the first bit of heat that I started to take was I entered the trade here when the special divergence was still special divergent, and I entered with 3 contracts. Now I understood where my stop was going to be. It was going to be just past the counter trend resistance zone. So as price traded higher, I averaged and I shorted 1 more contract here, and I shorted 1 more contract on the eventual high. There was actually a better entry, and that would have been either here or with this no demand, but I went ahead, and I had been in this trade for so long, I was worried that price was going to trade higher. So on the 5 contracts, I ended up taking about a 1-point loss on those 5, but I was in the trade for a little over 45 minutes. Then, as you can see, we had a trend trade here, and we had an excellent ratio. So I went ahead and entered long here, and the ratio was again dipping right here, so I entered an additional contract there and an additional contract here. So now I'm long 4, and initially the trade starts to work, but then as we can see what happens, price sold off. So as price sold off, again, I know where my exit is going to be, and I went long an additional contract here and an additional 2 contracts here when I got the special divergence signal right here. Now, notice what the ratio was doing down here. The reason I wanted to stay with this trade is just because the number was so strong at around 160. But what did I warn you about 2 days ago in the video? I warned you about a ratio that goes to the side no matter how weak or how strong something is. And this is what happened in this trade. Now, I took it off pretty much exactly at break even. And why did I do that? Well, first off, when we go from a blue zone to a blue zone, that is a pattern that I call strong trend reversal. And if the market is performing normally, which in this case it performed it to the tick, we should see a retracement exactly to the minor resistance zone, which we did right here. And when we got to that minor resistance zone, we had a very high number of a ratio of 199. So I quickly evaluated that and took that off basically for no profit. And then I missed this trade here, which had a very good ratio and distribution divergence because I had taken the cat out for a walk. So that pretty much is the way it goes. The easiest trade of the day is going to be when you're not behind the screen. Went ahead and entered one more trade short right here. And as you can see, the cluster of contracts, there was 2 from here, another couple, 3 contracts from here. And I traded that down and took profit right at the low. And again, you can see what was happening down here. What I was looking for again was basically about 5 or 6 points from the high that had been made here. I wasn't trying to put my target down here, which had been about a 10-point trade. I was just basically looking to get 5 points out of that trade, and that's what I did. I believe we also did have a news release right here, which is the FOMC minutes. Took a profit there, and at the end of the day, that came out to be about $381 before commissions. And here is that trade performance. I haven't put the commissions into the NinjaTrader formula, so there will be a few dollars coming off for that. But overall, a good day. And again, what I'm trying to illustrate here is the use of the ratio indicator, using the micros, and basically looking to get about 5 or 6 points out of every trade. If you should have any questions about this, please give me a call. And I want to thank you for watching and have a good day.